Why does getting to the airport have to be such a dilemma? The driving, parking, finagling a ride. Well, if you take Uber, it doesn't. It's easy. Just install the Uber app. Enter your destination, confirm your location, and within minutes, a car will pick you up. Whether you're catching the red eye or taking off at the crack of dawn, you can request a ride 24/7. So avoid the hassle. Install the Uber app now and take your first ride today. Uber, the better way to get there.
Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group, and with me as always is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing this week?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Getting ready for Thanksgiving.
For the holiday season. There we go. Yeah.
Yep. So, you have anything special planned?
We always have a house full here. Thanksgiving's always been special, but I'm going to have 13 people this year, which is actually small for my family. But it's always a good time of eating, football, and all kinds of fun. So, how about you?
Yeah, we'll be spending time with family. We've got probably about a dozen or so people going. Should have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, my favorite holiday.
So this week, we're talking about goal setting. You know, our whole podcast is about success. But how do you know what success looks like unless you figure out what your goals are?
Absolutely. And that was a good time of the year to be starting so that you got something going for next year.
Absolutely. Goals need to be planned out. You can't, people always talk about their New Year's resolutions. Well, goals need to be a little more than resolutions. And it does take time to figure them out. Now, of course, Chip, I know you're more than familiar with SMART goals. Why don't you take our listeners through what SMART goals are?
Well, SMART goals, the S stands for specific. The M stands for, what's the M stand for again?
Measurable.
Measurable. Achievable is the A. R is reasonable, reachable. And if you have those four things, what you have is a dream. Unless you put the T on, which is time-bound, you don't have a goal. And the other thing is that SMART goals really are not just for business. I mean, obviously this is a business show, but you should really have those for every area of your life. One of my favorite books is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Have you heard of that one yourself? Or
I'm not familiar with that one.
That one came out a few years ago, and I listened to it on Audible several times, and we were just talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, and New Year's resolutions invariably are gone by the middle or the end of the month because your New Year's resolutions are something like I'm going to lose 20 pounds or I'm going to make $100,000 this year, and by the middle or the end of the month you've done nothing on it. So the Slight Edge, Wayne Dyer also talks about this, as do other people, talks about chunking things down into easy, measurable parts. So when I'm talking about the book, it's always fun to ask the audience, if I gave you the choice today of giving you $1 million or giving you a penny and doubling it every day for the next 30 days, what would you choose? And people
I'll take
start
the doubling.
Their heads. And yeah, I mean, you go to 2 cents tomorrow, 4 cents, 8, and so on and so forth. But by the end of the month, you're doubling from $5 million to $10 million just by doing the same simple thing every day. So as far as parlaying this into New Year's resolutions, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds. Instead of getting to the middle of January and saying I haven't done anything, if you just change one small little habit like coming home from work during the day, at the end of the day, instead of sitting down watching television with a snack, maybe taking a 10-minute walk. And if you do that simple thing every day, you're going to start seeing results. In the business world, if you have an income goal of $100,000 or whatever, most industries have measurable statistics where if you do certain activities such as making sales calls and follow-ups and so on and so forth on a daily or weekly basis and declare a victory every day just doing those, you can reasonably expect to get X for the results. So if you have a daily or weekly goal schedule that you're doing religiously, things are going to turn out positive there too. So it's really just putting things in perspective. So obviously, though, step number one is to determine them and write them down. And in the slight edge, what Jeff Olson recommends is doing it not just for professional, but think of other areas of your life like health and personal development and relationships and so on and so forth. And the more you write down and do it well-rounded, the happier the life you're going to have.
Sounds great. Yeah, at the Modern Observer Group, we provide our coaching clients with a yearly planner. And at the beginning of the planner is a worksheet to help you figure out exactly what your goal for that year is. But then on each page, which is one page, one day, we have a spot for what we call sprint goals. And these are smaller goals that will ultimately lead you to the big goal. So while your major goal may take you a year to accomplish, the sprint goals take you a day. And each one builds on the last to build your progress towards your major goal. But I want to talk about the S in SMART goals, which is specific, because this is usually the part that most people miss. I always use the example of losing weight. People make the New Year's resolution, I want to lose weight. That's not a specific goal. Technically, if you lose, an ounce, you've hit your goal. Or you could be struggling all year because you didn't actually set an amount, so you never feel like you reach your goal. Goals have to be specific. They have to have an end point. Losing weight, it's great to lose weight, but what you need to say is, I want to lose X amount of pounds. And then we talk about, the T, time bound. When do you want to lose that X amount of pounds for? At that point, it becomes algebra. Well, if I want to lose 20 pounds in a year, how many pounds do I need to lose each month? And you break it down to smaller sets. And I think that's very important for people, because when they make what are sometimes called BOGs, big, audacious, hairy goals, they don't break them down. And so they lose their momentum because the goal is so big. After you're working on it for a few weeks, you feel it's unattainable because you didn't set smaller guideposts along the way.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll take a look at this big goal and you just won't even get going on it in the first place because it's so big. So,
yeah.
So I like that sprint goals analogy. That's that one I haven't heard yet, but of course you got some really unique things that you do anyway. So it's
well, thank you. But yeah, it's a matter of breaking things down into manageable pieces. Managing a goal is a lot like managing your time. If you have to build a website, well, you're going to look at that and go, oh, okay, I have to build a website. And that's a pretty big thing. But when you break it down, well, I have to decide what pages we're going to have on the website. Then I have to write content for each page. Then I have to choose graphics for each page. You break it down, it's more manageable. Setting the goal is the same way. It has to be manageable. If it's too overwhelming, you won't move towards it, or you'll start out and get discouraged.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of templates out there too. I just talked about one. Another one, I'm sure a lot of the people out there have heard of Brian Tracy, and
yes.
He has his 7-step process for setting and achieving your goals. And actually, one of my favorite books is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, which is just 21 different time management tips. But his 7-step process for setting and achieving goals it's repeating a lot of what we just talked about. It's number one, first, decide exactly what you want in each area of your life. Be very specific. Second, write it down clearly and in detail. Third, set a specific deadline. If it is a large goal, break it down into sub-deadlines and write them down in order. Fourth is make a list of everything you can think of that you are going to have to do to achieve your goal. As you think of new items, add them to your list. Number 5 is to organize the items on the list into a plan by placing them in the proper sequence and priority. 6th, take action immediately on the most important thing you can do in your plan. This is very important. That's actually the frog, and eat your frog is the most important thing. And number 7 is to do something every day that moves you towards the attainment of one or more of your important goals to maintain the momentum. So it's really a function of writing all these things down. And I think, as I've mentioned before on here, one of the ways that I keep things organized is I write everything down on a spreadsheet, so you can write down ideas and all different kinds of things, and they don't have to be organized at all. But as soon as you put in that column to prioritize things, you can start sorting things out and organizing them and that kind of thing. So obviously getting started is usually the hardest thing to do. But once you get going on that and you have a way to kind of track things, you're going to find that things work out very, very well for you.
Yeah, that's very important because you do have to have a system for tracking your progress. Without that, you sort of get lost in the woods, you lose focus. But when people start to create their goals, an exercise that we do to try to get people to figure out exactly what their goal is we have them think, okay, it's 1 year later. Everything's gone absolutely fantastically. It's Monday morning, and you're heading into your office. And I have them visualize what the office looks like, what their schedule looks like, what they're doing, what their job is. And by visualizing where you want to go, it helps you crystallize what those goals can be. Because you need to figure out where it is you want to end up. And then the second part of the exercise is that once you've got a detailed description of where it is you want to end up, you put a second detailed description of where you are now. Then you take those two descriptions and you see where the discrepancies are. Where are the parts that you need to work on and move forward on? And that helps them to crystallize what it is their goals really are. Again, everybody says we want to be a success, but if you can't define what that success is, what it looks like, you're never going to achieve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you're taking it from a dream to a goal. If it's in your head and you haven't started working on it and written down and put a time-bound thing on it, then you're just dreaming. So, but it is so important to look ahead. The visualization is great. Affirmations are wonderful. Stephen Covey's habit number 2, begin with the end in mind, is really saying the same thing. It's all the planning thing. And it's so important to visualize that. And if people are visual, doing a vision board and just putting these things on, posters in their room or maybe their wallpaper on their computer or other things is a great way to do that. And, affirmations are really, really cool also. In my send-out cards business, that's one of the things we do is our own affirmation cards. And it's amazing just by writing down your I ams and visualizing them, how quickly most of them do come true. It's pretty funny. Like it was 2011. It was late 2010 that I sent myself an affirmation card. And one of them was saying, I am enjoying my trip to Hawaii, which is something that I've always wanted to do my whole life. And what had happened was a year before that, my sister and her husband from Illinois wanted to move out to Connecticut, and they spent 6 months in my house living with us while they were looking to do that. And that December, a couple weeks after I got my affirmation card, I got a call from my sister who loves to travel and whatever, and she said, I got a timeshare in Hawaii. You want to join us for a couple of days? Which just sparked me to put together a 2-week trip to Hawaii, and it was just amazing. So we were gone literally 6 weeks after I got that card. 2 weeks after I got the card, my sister called me. So the law of attraction really pulls these things in, and the more you have things visualized, which is what you really need to do with your goals, just like we're talking about, it's so important. So super powerful tool is visualization.
It really is. And something else is that you don't want to keep your goal a secret. By writing it down, by telling somebody, it helps to keep you accountable. And that external accountability really helps push you forward.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. It's having an accountability partner out there, or just, again, throwing that out there, because obviously if you're throwing it out to friends and family, they're going to start asking you, well, how you making out on that? Gee, you look pretty cool. You lost a couple pounds since the last time I saw you, that kind of thing. So it's actually a tool to encourage you.
All right. It's very difficult for somebody to keep themselves accountable when they haven't shared what their goal is. When it stays in your head, it sort of stays in this nebulous realm. Once you write it down and you start talking about it and telling people about it, then it becomes real. And because of that, you're more motivated. Well, you told people you were going to lose 20 pounds. Now, I'm sure everybody has a friend like I have that if I tell them I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I don't do that, I'm never going to hear the end of it.
Of course not.
So
that's it. Gotta love our friends. What can you say? But you're right.
But that's it. It's that added motivation. I said I was going to do it. If I don't, they're not going to let me forget it. I have to do this. And it helps push forward.
Absolutely. And it helps motivate other people, too. If they're having trouble putting down their own goals and starting things out, just seeing their friend in action achieving stuff because they're doing it is great. And obviously, success doesn't come by yourself, so you can do it for yourself, but if you're being an example for other people, that's even better because you inspire them.
Yeah, working in groups is very important because it provides support, it provides motivation. It's one of the reasons why in the early days of Weight Watchers, it was so popular and so successful because people realized, well, it's tough to do it on my own, but if I'm in a room full of people who are all trying to achieve the same thing, they encourage each other. They keep each other motivated. They keep each other accountable. So that's something that people need to think about, whether it's working with a coach or a peer group or a mastermind group. Having a group to fall back on or having someone to fall back on is a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, you just brought up the mastermind principle, from Napoleon Hill, and that is really, really a fantastic way to achieve things. You want to go over what the principles of the mastermind are?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, basically, Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, it's the new math. It's when you put two or more people together, a third mastermind is formed. And what it's all about is the mastermind group has specific parameters and purposes and meeting schedules where you get together with 3 or 4 or 5 people to work on specific topics. And say for business, if you wanted to, it's almost like having your own board of directors where most small businesses don't have them. But it's a very, very well-organized way of doing things. So you have to state a purpose for the group. You need accountability with all the members so that everybody's contributing, and everybody's got to identify what they're looking to get out of it, but also what they're going to be putting into it commitment-wise. And if you come up with a good agenda of different topics that you're going to be going over on a scheduled basis, you can achieve a whole lot. And obviously New Year's resolutions or business goals for the years and so on and so forth can be part of that. So If you have not read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, it's the best-selling business book ever, I'm pretty sure, and it's definitely something to pick up.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. And another advantage of groups like this is you're bringing together people with different points of view and different perspectives. And, we tend to get pigeonholed by our own experiences and how we look at things. So getting that external viewpoint really can help shake you up and shake you out of a funk to keep you moving. It also gives you different ideas because, when you're coming at something from a different way, you might not have thought of the approach that somebody else in the group is using. And you can apply that to your own goals.
Yep, and then some things that you might take for granted about yourself or your business that are really, really outstanding things, if somebody else tells you that, it's like a pow on you so that you can actually work on something and really leverage that more to your advantage. I mean, oftentimes when I'm sitting down having one-on-ones with people that I've known for a long time in networking and so on and so forth, they say something kind of nonchalantly that I said, really? I never realized that about you, or that's something that you really should talk a lot more about because I think it would help you out. And especially if you get people from different backgrounds and so on and so forth talking in a group, a lot of that comes out. That's one of the really, really cool things about the mastermind.
Yeah, and it's very valuable because most of us have a tendency to downplay things that have happened to us, things that we've done. We think, oh, well, I did this, everybody must have done this, or anybody could have done this. But when somebody else hears it, they have a whole different perspective of it. It may be completely new to them. So what we're downplaying as just, oh, yeah, it's something I did, other people can find very impressive and bring out the point that, look, you've already accomplished that. Now what else can you accomplish?
Absolutely. Or this is fantastic. Why don't you leverage this more in your business or something like that?
Right. Yeah, that external viewpoint gives you an unbiased view of what it is you're trying to do. I mean, we all come with our own biases, and unfortunately, most people tend to have negative biases towards themselves. Most business owners...
Unfortunately, that's just the way we're brought up. I mean, we talked about this before as far as maintaining your own positive mindset, and that person in the mirror is so important to really love yourself and appreciate what you are, not from an arrogant standpoint, but to realize that you can't give your best self to the world if you don't like yourself. And the outside world seems to frown upon people outwardly saying that kind of stuff. So that's a shift that we need to do for next year. So everybody out there, make that a goal, to like yourself and let everybody know that and help them do the same thing.
Absolutely. I mean, people tend to say, they can promote somebody else with no problem. But when it comes to promoting themselves, they have a problem getting past that. And the same thing affects your abilities to meet your own goals. If you're looking at it as, well, that's not something I can really do, then you're not going to be able to achieve it. In SMART goals, we talk about achievable goals. Well, the fact of the matter is, when you set that goal up, I mean, yes, it has to be realistic. All goals do need to be realistic. I believe that I can do all sorts of things. However, I'm 47 years old. The odds on my pitching in the World Series at this point are pretty slim. We're not talking about a realistic goal. So you do have to...
You are a Mets fan, right? I'm just kidding.
Well, yes, that makes it even harder because the Mets also have to make it to the series. Yeah, but they had, who was it? That pitcher. We had a number
with another team at age 44. I mean, it's pretty wild. But no, I totally understand where you're coming from. So, but it is
your
really
goals
important
need
to have confidence.
Be realistic. Go ahead.
Yep. I mean, confidence is very, very important. The more confidence you have, the more realistic goals become. So it really, really is important, working on yourself.
So we're coming up on the end of this episode. So I want to recap a few things. Is that, first of all, your goals really do need to be specific, realistic. You need to have a deadline and break down large goals into smaller sprint goals. Because sprint goals have a great advantage of, one, they're small enough that you can achieve them in a day or two. And two, they help you build momentum. Because when you accomplish that first sprint goal, great, now you accomplish a second and a third and a fourth, and it builds that momentum towards the big goal. And that's actually where most people fall short, is on that momentum. They give up on the goal before they achieve it.
Yep, you cannot underestimate the importance of momentum. And that's why I love that sprint analogy.
Yeah. So once you've figured out what your goal is, write it down. Let people know. And then, of course, build the plan. No goal is suddenly going to pop up into existence and you're just going to achieve it. You need the plan to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And when you put that plan together, you break the goal down into manageable steps. You do a little bit, even if you just do one additional thing each day. You know, there's the old proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take that single step. So, Chip, what do you think that our listeners need to take away from today?
Just chunk them down, and exactly as you said, tiny steps every day, but have yourself organized up front before you start your journey, and you're going to have a fantastic 2017 moving ahead. So, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can hear all of our episodes at blogtalkradio.com/xvadio or find us on Apple iTunes. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend, and we look forward to you joining us next week on Success Showcase.
Hi, this is Maury Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Yes, while Geico could help you rack up more moolah faster than you can say metamorphosis, they've also been the fastest growing auto insurer for more than 10 years. That's more like it. Furthermore, Geico has fast and friendly claim service. That might seem like an oxymoron, but it's not. All the more reason to say no other auto insurer has more than Geico. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Progressive presents Mindflowness with Flow.
Before you lies a beautiful meadow. In that meadow, Progressive Direct has placed its auto insurance rates alongside those of competitors. You select the lowest rate and feel a great sense of calm. A great sense of...
Compare Progressive Direct rates with competitors' rates so you can rest easy. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.